Hey guys, what is up? Just got done with an awesome leg session today at up at Gold's Venice, and driving back gives me a little bit of time. It's about an hour drive, and it gives me a little time to get caught up on some of the questions from last week. And today, being a leg day, is a great way to answer this question, and it is from Iron Giant 357. And it is leg development on a tall frame. What is the best way to go about it? Man, it is, I'm gonna tell you right now, it is, I looked at your profile, and yeah, you're a big guy, man. You're 6'6". And the only difference is it's gonna take time. But number one, it's gonna be genetics. And leg training really isn't going to be any different for you than it would be for anybody else. And the way I recommend people to train is, I like to get my compound movements out of the way, but I do mix it up, in blocks. So, for example, my sets and my reps and my weight, for example, are going to be moderately heavy, and my volume is going to be somewheres in between the 8 and 10 and 12 rep range on, let's say, for example, a squat. And a squat is, it really is, it's the king of leg development. Don't let anybody tell you different. But you have to remember that, in bodybuilding, classic bodybuilding, bodybuilding is an illusion. And so what you want to do is if you have trouble with leg development, you want to create the illusion of having a bigger leg. Your advantage is, and this is, this is an advantage of getting your legs up and developed enough to where you look aesthetically pleasing, meaning that your legs aren't going to lag behind the rest of your symmetry. And so that's the advantage that tall people have, really, over, in my opinion, over shorter people, because you do have that advantage of technically better aesthetics, because you can't get the leg mass or the illusion of leg mass that you would have on a smaller bodybuilder. So, when I say illusion, so when you train, you want to train all parts of your body. All parts of your leg, of course. Okay, but the one thing I'd probably concentrate more on would probably be adductors. You're developing more adductor training in size and everything else, because that is going to take up a lot of the size when you stand in a lineup. If you have the genetics, and let me just go back. Genetics is number one. If you got the genetics, man, you can do anything you want. Really, you can really do anything you want. But you are a little bit at a disadvantage as far as size goes, even though you'll still have big legs. As size goes, looking at the proportions. So I am, I would probably, start out with keeping my reps, kind of moderate, somewhere in between the 8, 10, 12 range. I wouldn't worry so much on things like when you're putting on size, like leg extensions. I like to concentrate more on, if I go to a leg press or something like that, more on unilateral type of movements in a leg press, which means I'm really gonna focus on, just training one leg at a time. So if I'm on a leg press, and I'll demonstrate this in the future, that I will do a single leg press, and I will do it slow, and that way the contraction is there, and I will lock out completely at the top. And when I lock out completely at the top, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to flex my toe back. I'm going to dorsiflex that foot, and which helps me get even more of a contraction on it. And when I squat, for example, if I go to squat, I'm going to squat with a wider stance, because that is going to help with targeting my adductors and my glutes as well. And when you squat wide, you're going to get your hamstrings, and you're going to recruit all that in there. So instead of taking the the normal stance that people would, which is basically, a shoulder width stance, which I really don't like doing that anyway, because I do like to squat a little bit wider, and I do like to target my hamstrings and my glutes. And if I kind of turn my toes out just slightly, or my heels in, however you want to do it, right, it's really going to hit my adductors, and they are going to grow, and I'm going to feel it the next day. And in 2 days, that you get that 48-hour delayed onset of soreness, and my adductors are hurting like a motherfucker. And just because I'm going deep, I'm using those particular muscles, and and I'm coming up with it, and I'm squeezing the shit out of them when I come up. And you can do this on a hack squat as well. Although when I hack squat, I prefer to take a little bit narrower stance, because I want to take I want to hit my VMO muscles, my vastus medialis, and a little bit more. So I'll take a little bit of a narrow stance on that. But I will use, in the off season, I will use movements that are strictly for developing mass. In my opinion, you're not going to develop a whole lot of mass just adding in leg extensions or anything like that. You want to concentrate on, you want to squat, you want to back squat, you want to front squat, you want to hack squat, right? You want to do things like that are really going to target the muscles that are going to grow. So and you want to hit it from all angles. So you want to go wide stance, you want to go narrow stance. You want to hit your glutes hard. You want to hit your abductors and adductors, but again, it's going to be adductors as well. You want to hit those hard as well, and eventually you're going to see your legs start filling in, and you're going to start seeing some growth in there. I'll do things like I'll add in the sissy squat. And one thing I don't do is I don't sit around in between sets unless I'm squatting. If I'm squatting or something like that, because it is a compound movement, and it is basically, it's an exhausting movement, I will just basically just do squats alone. But once you get me onto any of the auxiliary lifts, and to me, anything after a squat is considered an auxiliary lift, then I start going into higher reps. Then I start going up into my, my 10, 12, 15 rep range there. Now I'll do that, something like that, for about 6 weeks or so. Then I'll move on, and I won't start out with squats. I'll start out with something else. I might start out with leg extensions. I'll take out, the single leg stuff and start moving in and start going into bilateral movements. I'll start with, for example, just on warm-ups and stuff like that. I warm my hips up a lot. And as a taller guy, even though I'm short, I'm 5'7", but as a taller guy, you really need to keep your hips flexible, and you really need to, just really keep that in there, and keep movement is essential, because it is harder for most guys your height, and I'm not saying you, to get down in that deep squat, just because your levers are so long, and and it's hard for you sometimes for you guys to get down. But if you're on a front squat, man, you guys should be able to get down deep. And if you elevate your heels with a couple of 10-pound plates, you should be able to get down pretty much ass to heel on your front squats. Add in things like, don't keep the exercise selection the same all the time, but always have a plan. I've always say this. So you want to develop a plan, to where you want to have a heavy day, you want to have a lighter day with more reps, and and just kind of plan your leg day, your off-season leg day accordingly. Don't walk in the gym and just randomly pick shit out and just start doing it. You've got to have a plan. You've got to have your sets. You've got to have your reps and what's going to go on. Don't be afraid of drop sets. Don't be afraid of supersets. And that's another thing, man. You really want to get a body part to grow. Doesn't make any difference whether it's legs, arms, or whatever. If you feel like you're having a lagging body part, the one thing that I do is I will superset the same muscle group in order to do that. So for example, if I'm doing a leg press, I will immediately jump off and I will do sissy squat, and I'll get into so if I'm doing 10 or 12 reps on a leg press, as soon as I'm done, I'm jumping off there and I'm getting right into 20 reps with a sissy squat, and it's usually with body weight, and I don't lock out at the top with that on the sissy squat. I am constantly driving blood, driving lactic acid in there, and I'm basically creating trauma to the muscle, and because that's essentially how you're gonna grow anyway, and then you're gonna recover. But yeah, if that helps you, I hope it does. There's all kinds of things. Or like, again, it's really not going to be that much different. My preferred method of training my own legs, right, is I go moderately heavy and on my compound movements, and I keep my reps somewhere between, like I said, about 8 or 10 reps on things like that, and I will slowly go up each set to where I'm hitting my maximum for what my technique is going to be. I'm never going to break my technique when I'm doing a movement, because that takes away from what I want to do. And another thing too is you want to really try and use as much free weight as possible. So in other words, the leg presses and the hack squats are fine because that's what they're developed for. But as far as the squatting machines, right, you really want to go to a regular free squat, because what you're going to do is you're going to be recruiting more muscle fibers in from other areas to assist in the lift, and that's exactly what you want. Yeah, I mean, you're gonna create a lot of instability that is going to help create stability, and it's going to help just recruit all those muscle fibers in for growth. Okay, I hope this helped you. If you have any questions, let me know. I know I just kind of rambled a little bit, but I hope you got the idea of what I was trying to say. And if you have any questions, hit me up. Subscribe. We'd love to hear from you. I love getting these questions. I love to be able to help people out, and I really love coaching you guys, and because that's the biggest thing. All right, peace out.